The Hollywood Actor Podcast with Nadège August, Part 2.
So I packed my car and I drove to LA and made it here. And the first thing I did on my way to Los Angeles was stop at a Office Depot and got myself a fax machine.
A little dated, yeah. No.
Yeah, no, true. Only to find out that, get this, faxes were no longer necessary. But in my mind, because I just remember going to my agent's office and them getting the sides by a fax, I thought, well, I'm going to need a machine for my...
Oh, yeah, that's actually clever, but it was clever.
In my brain, I thought it was clever, but it was a waste of money.
Oh.
But again, see my commitment level. Most people are like, where am I going to live? I'm like, nope, I need a fax machine. Forget a roof over my head or where to plug this in. I've got to have this piece of equipment because that is what I saw in my agent's office. That is where a lot of business gets conducted. And that's what I'm doing.
That's funny. That's funny seeing you in a hostel with a big suitcase, Backstage magazine, and a fax machine, and you're on the top of a 3-story bunk bed or something.
Hey, that's a storyline there. That's funny, isn't it?
So when you started making the move and you're starting to get your roots in to Los Angeles, your agent told you to move, so obviously she's now repping you in Hollywood. You're starting to get auditions, and then you book The Brothers, your first big film credit.
Yeah.
Right out of school.
Yeah, that was great. You know what's funny with that? I remember I still get tweets. Like, in fact, this morning, my Twitter feed, someone tweeted at me and everyone else from that show saying, watching an oldie but goodie, The Brothers.
Hey.
I guess it was on rerun last night, or they were replaying it or something. It was one of those jobs you get and you do it not knowing anything about it, not knowing it was going to be the success that it became. It's still lovely that my part, albeit small, is quite memorable. People do stop me and say, are you the Stank Ho? And I'm like, what? Oh, right. That's the famous line from the thing. They quote it. And I go, yes, that's me, Stank Ho.
No way.
I kid you not. It's funny. It's really funny. I think it was innovative at the time. There weren't a lot of romantic comedies, quote unquote, or starring an all African American cast. Throwing someone who actually speaks French, who didn't speak any English. That was the gag. That was the part of Ursula, and really made it memorable. And people were realizing, wait a minute, there are Black people who speak different languages.
Hey,
it's true. Who
knew, right?
Yeah, who knew? Who knew? Look at that. Or people are like, did you really speak French, or did you have to learn it? So
that's funny, and that's definitely a lesson for all of us. And this podcast is obviously for early career actors as well as the actor community in general. But talking to early career actors that have gone through a conservative experience, or they moved and they're fresh to Hollywood and, I can act, I can do anything. But you being bilingual in French helped you get your foot in the door.
Ironically, yes, I would say. It helps, period, to have all of these special skills and to not be ashamed of them. It's funny because, so my agent from New York, they did not have an office here. So what they did was they called some of their friends out here, other offices that they work with or shared clients with. And I went to 3 of them and ended up choosing one. So It is through these people that I booked it. But I'll never forget the one, the first agent I had from there who, I don't want to poo-poo. He was just so wrong for me. I remember him saying to me, so what are you? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, no, because you kind of like, you're not quite African-American, but so what are you? I said, well, I guess if I must describe myself, I would say Haitian-American. He goes, good, I'm glad you said that. Now never say that again. I said, why? He's like, There aren't roles with breakdowns that say Haitian Americans needed. So don't go around telling people that. Fast forward to 3 months later, my first job I book is the very thing he told me not to have.
Yikes.
To try to hide
Yeah.
was the very thing that gets me the job. But yeah, so I guess it goes back to being, and I don't know at the time that I understood that that's what it was. It's about being authentic. It's being who you are and not apologizing for it. I'm seeing the business seems to be more open now to all the different possibilities. We look at Bridgerton right now. I just know Bridgerton's going to sweep the awards this year. And I follow one of the directors on Insta of Bridgerton.
Okay.
I think his name is Tom. Anyway, so he posted something like, congratulations to the new cast member for season 2. And it's this beautiful girl from India who's British.
Yeah. But who probably most people wouldn't expect to be on a show like Bridgerton.
Right. Exactly.
And yet, there she is.
And she is. So, I would say they made what that agent said to me wouldn't fly today. But that's what I was up against. I was constantly having to try not to say who I was. And then after I got that job, I realized, nope, I'm not going to deny it. If asked, I will say, this is the very interesting background. My worldview is vastly different than the average person who's never left this country. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I embrace it. And at the time, too, what I was coming up against a lot was, can you sound black? Could you sound black? And that always cracks me up.
Yeah.
And that stopped once Obama got elected.
Really?
For some reason, yes. That was the major shift for me. That has never been asked of me again. And I think most actors will say that, too. And I finally would get so frustrated. I would say whenever I would see that the description was urban, I would turn down the opportunity to audition.
Because you know the kind of people you might end up working for. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. That's very revealing with the Obama presidency. It really.
Suddenly, to not, sound whatever it is, the way they think we Black people need to sound, should sound. Suddenly it was like, oh, okay, it's perfectly acceptable to, have whatever it is, to speak the way you speak. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But you're a trained actor and you're a vibrant person with world experience. And then you were finding your way into these co-stars, Criminal Minds, Castle, Dexter.
Well, it's interesting. Let's go back. So after The Brothers, a lot of my TV jobs were actually guest stars.
Really?
It wasn't until the big old, I don't have many of all these shows, or I'm drawing a blank, but I was always credited as a guest star. After that writer's strike, were you around for that of 2000? I want to say 8.
I wasn't in Hollywood for that yet.
You weren't there? Okay, so there was a huge writer's strike. And suddenly, being a guest star was the actor, the working, what we call ourselves, the middle class actors, the working actors, the journeymen,
Yeah.
Suddenly, during that, as soon as that strike was over, all the major stars got so scared, they suddenly flooded television. They suddenly flooded our bread and butter. And suddenly, what used to be guest star roles became called co-star roles because all of the stars were doing their guest star appearances. And that never quite shifted back to quote unquote normal again.
Really?
Yeah. Because there was a time, it's like you start out, there used to be a quote unquote trajectory.
Yeah.
You start out doing commercials and theater, and then eventually you do television, and then you go to movies, and that's when you really make it. Because there was a time you would not catch any name actor in television.
Yeah.
right?
And the ladder within television, the co-star, guest star, recurring, series regular. And then you've worked your way up to the big screen?
That's how it that was supposedly the trajectory, right?
Even up to, wow, 2007, 2008.
Yeah, that was my
Wow.
experience, though. That's my
Yeah.
experience. And then eventually, as
I guess so, with like HBO,
Mhm.
The Sopranos, obviously, when you started getting cinema started taking root in television and being so exciting.
Yeah, all these people who only did movies wanted to do television because television got really good. I have to say, we've got television's pretty good quality these days.
Wow.
Can't deny a lot of the shows; they're amazing.
Wow. But that kicked you down the ladder from guest star.
To suddenly, we were just like, if you, and I had reps who resisted. They would insist that, nope, she will not be seen for this, only as a guest star. That's what all her credits were. I was top of the show there was a show called The Unit. I was top of show for that. I was a guest. And then this whole thing happens, and I had to humble up and do a little bit of co-stars here and there. And so I did Castle, and you mentioned a few.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow, that is shocking to say the least.
Yeah.
Well, but you're still rolling with the punches. You're still pushing forward into the industry. A lot of the actors I talk to are either they're still getting their feet wet, or they are extremely experienced actors that maybe they got out at the right time. Honestly, I talk to a lot of actors personally who are semi-retired, retired actors that just look at me and they say, Jamie, I don't know what to tell you. And I'm like, I can't use that information, but thank you. I'm glad you had your experiences. Now I have to have mine. Now I have to talk to people that are learning, are pushing through, are rolling with the punches, are still trying to figure it out. And that's you. That's fantastic. Yeah. Having to humble yourself after doing all these guest stars, top a show, to doing the co-stars, starting at lower down on the ladder, but you're still working in television. And then you're working last year during COVID, working on Nickelodeon's Young Dylan and
recurring
with Tyler
there,
Perry.
recurring on that. And then the most awesome role on another show of his called Ruthless, where I did 24 episodes.
Wow.
So I shot about 26 hours of episodic television in 2020.
My God. In 2020.
Yes, in 2020, and racked up so much mileage. I mean, I was looking at my Fly Delta app, and I have about 37,000 miles. I was all over. I even shot a commercial in Detroit, a Rocket Mortgage commercial in Detroit. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. But
no, congratulations. I mean, to be able to push through, to work on these extremely high profile shows, including, Ruthless, Tyler Perry's newest endeavor. And that's the first thing he's pushing forward on after everybody gets shut down, silenced, closed out.
Yeah, he was the first one to figure out how to quarantine his people, how to quarantine his shows. So I believe there were 2 shows before us with smaller casts. There were, I don't want to call them the experiment, but between cast, crew, and all the folks it takes to keep the studio running, I believe the very first group had about 325 people that he quarantined, and no one got sick. I believe anyone who tested positive was whisked away before they even made their way into the actual lot. And so when you're ready for me to break down how it all happens, when you land in Atlanta, Georgia at Tyler Perry Studios, let me know.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you're ready? Are you ready?
I'm so excited. Yeah, learning how you felt so safe being on his set and how he worked and his relationship with you and the rest of the cast during that experience.
Oh, okay. So it's a family. So getting hired off a tape, obviously, because there was no in-person anything. And once you get the job, you are still wherever you are. In LA, some people were in New York, some were in Chicago, some were in Florida.
Oh,
getting
wow.
work, proving that you you no longer need to live in Los Angeles or New York. As long as you have reps who can actually submit you and you have the opportunity to self-tape, you can work. So both of these jobs were actually all three jobs were done via self-tape.
Wow.
So it didn't matter where I was. I happened to be in LA. So once they know where you are, they then set you up to get COVID tested twice a week before you even fly out to Atlanta. Twice a week for about 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Mm-hmm,
Wow.
ahead, yeah. Then when you get on a flight, it's a charter flight, a private flight with just cast and crew who have been tested together negatively consistently.
Yeah.
So even when you're getting on this charter flight, you now know that everyone in this room with you, this tiny room with you, is clean, right?
Yeah.
So to speak.
It's a safe but party plane.
Yeah. But there was still social distancing in the plane, by the way. Yeah, we each got a row to ourselves, and yeah, it was surreal. So once you get to the studios, we have people greet us in full on hazmat suits. We check in and get tested right away again. Then each person gets put into their own little tiny bungalow, but very comfortable, where there's AC, television, your private showers and everything. You're supposed to stay in there until the test results come out. And that at the time it took 24 hours. They came out the next day. Meals were texted to you and menus were texted to you. You chose what you wanted. Then it was left at your door. And then the next morning when they said, okay, you're good. You're good to go. You now were able to roam about and move about the campus, is what we called it, move about campus. And we got to move to more permanent housing, and shared our houses with just one other person so that each person had their bathrooms, even though the houses on the lot have 4 bedrooms. They still only had 2 per house because they wanted each person to have their own bathrooms and not have to share and avoid all of that. The protocols, and while there too, every Monday we tested. We tested every Monday and every Thursday. Everyone, from the gardener to the lead of the show to Mr. Perry himself. So yeah, very, very strict and very good COVID protocols. When you are on set, you have to have the N95 on. As actors, of course, we kept the face shield on with the mask off when we were up to go shoot something, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, everyone was covered.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of Ruthless happens outdoors. So we spent a lot of time in the heat. It was, outdoorsy. It's surreal. It was an amazing experience. It really was.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I was working on Roswell, New Mexico, up here in Santa Fe. And what blew my mind was not only the safety precautions, but having to wear the N95 masks like you're talking, even during rehearsal, even up until the last second, where sound speeding, camera rolling, and the slates come down. And then the first AD, he's yelling out, okay, everybody take off your masks and action.
Yep.
So I'm scrambling. Oh my God, I gotta do that, and then get to my mark, and then the scene's happening right now.
All right, and in between, I don't know if they did that with you. In between takes, when they were resetting up, it's like slap that puppy back on. So it's about finding where in my costume can I tuck this mask.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they're like cut. Okay, masks. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and you kind of go, well, wait, we've all tested. We keep testing negative. Why do we have to still be careful? Well, let's be careful. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, we've agreed on these rules and procedures. Let's just do them. Right.
And you know what? None of my castmates got anything, were sick. Yeah. I wasn't either. I mean, it was all worth it. It was all worth it. Yeah.
Was it a chartered flight back as well with a couple people? Or?
Actually, going back, we were put on Delta, but of course, per union rules, first business class, and pretty much it was just our entire cast in that plane because, well, at the time too, people weren't flying as much, so.
Oh yeah,
flights were pretty empty.
So how was your role on that show? It must have given you a lot to dig your teeth into.
Oh, well, here's the beauty of it. So my character's Joan, and Joan on Ruthless is the accountant for this cult, right? She does a lot of sort of underhanded things for the cult, but it's as a way to survive. I have to be careful not to give too much away, as you know.
Sure.
And, but other than that, I had carte blanche to craft a character that I wanted. One of my greatest joys is when people don't recognize me from one role to the next. I'm sharing this with you here, but word is Mr. Perry was sort of shocked that I was hired to do another show of his. No one realized that I had done Young Dylan.
Yeah.
Not because they were not on top of things, because I simply did not look like that from one character to the next. And that's where that whole training about truth comes out. Somehow I just knew that I needed to look different. It helped from the out to work that way for this particular role. Knowing the environment is that it's a cult, right? I happen to be, and whenever I say this, people think I'm nuts, but I love cults. Not being in them, not the idea of them, but I've always been fascinated by those storylines.
Yes.
The machinations, like how charismatic are you as a leader that you can get people to do so many things, give up their families, give up their lives, whatever. We've all heard, we all know the iconic ones like the Jamestown from, what is it, the 80s or 70s?
Yeah, Waco, Anshin Rikyo.
Yes, and then there's a lot. There's so many of them. So understanding that environment, what I realized was that you're constantly living at a survival level. So then it became about how do you navigate your survival?
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of creative license there.
Yeah, like what's your psychology as you understand the latest obstacle? What are your behaviors? Mm-hmm. How are you showing yourself or hiding certain aspects of things that you're starting to discover about the cult or yourself?
Right. Oh. And there's this constant question of like, who do I trust? Who do I trust? Who do I trust? Who can I trust? Who can I trust? Am I trustworthy? Am I trusting? Should I trust this one? So it's a fun, confusing game. We have our fans are diehard. So it was on BET Plus, and now it's moving to regular BET because it's.
Is it really? Oh, that is so exciting.
Yeah. So what happened was they had part of season 1 shot. A group of us were hired and to continue season 1. So I came in at around episode 15 of season 1 is when you see me. You first meet my character Joan, and it ends at episode 24. So from episode 15 to 24, I'm in about 4 of them, and then the second season I'm in a good 19 of them. It's exciting. There are fan pages about it, and people, tweet and ask questions. Couple of people have trolled me and said, she's really ugly, and others have said, no, she's not. This is what she really looks like. And then they're like, well, they make all the women look hideous. I mean, the kinds of things people have said. I know, like they take it very seriously. They think it's real, and I'm enjoying it. I'm so enjoying it.
Yeah, that is so exciting. What a cool show for you to be pushing forward with in 2020. That looks like it's building a momentum and possibly more work for you this year.
Yeah, well, it depends. We'll see. Yes,
fingers crossed for you. I mean,
Yeah,
you never know, right?
most people, you assume as an actor that suddenly something like that opens doors. I hope it does, but don't know yet. Maybe it's because it's on a platform that's a very specific platform like BT Plus, and then eventually maybe when it makes its way to its more popular, comes with your basic cable type of thing like BET, maybe it'll mean more. But who knows? I don't know how to parlay something like that, a big break like that.
Yeah.
How would you parlay a
Well,
big break like that,
just
James?
talking about it, trying to talk about it and trying to create your own content around it a little bit too, as much as you're able to. I was in this, very quick shot for the Super Bowl, a Bud Light seltzer lemonade commercial, and I'm shaving my head. And, it was leading up to the Super Bowl. And so I did this little photo shoot just in my little self-tape studio of mine with all these Bud Light boxes around me. And I had a lemon tree because I get hit by a lemon in the spot. And that's what causes me to shave off half my hair. So I had a wreath with lemons, a lemon tree, all these boxes. I'm wearing yellow. I'm eating a lemon. I tried to be like cutesy about it and fill the frame with as many types of lemons as I could. I had placemats that said lemon and had lemons on it. My mother, oh my goodness. It was just wild. But it was another piece of content that I even posted on the Bud Light YouTube video comments. And it was amongst like all these other, like you were just talking about, very political comments that were like extremely sour or, just wild off the cuff stuff. And I'm like, hey, that was me. Yay.
And this aired during Super Bowl, right?
During the Super Bowl, yeah. So I was trying to like capitalize on it.
Congratulations. Thanks. And you got this while in Santa Fe?
I shot it in Los Angeles. And it's like a little montage of all these things happening because last year's lemons, we had to make lemonade out of it. It's a cute little spot. But yeah, it was just like a couple seconds, but I was still trying to figure out how I could keep the conversation going. And hopefully they'll keep showing the commercial. And I mean, your show going from BET Plus to BET, that's going to have a whole new audience, whole wave of fans. And maybe if there's like going to be like a new announcement from their publicity department about that, and maybe you can tag along with it or talk about it, help to create some content, like I was saying, around it in some way, but just keeping the conversation going and talking about it on your podcast, which is a great transition for us to talk about how you do kind of, what the fuckery? That sounds so cool. I think I've heard about that podcast before. I met you and we started talking about it. What the Fuckery, a podcast you've had for 2 years now, talking to real people about real things, real conversations. It sounds wild. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Okay, so it's so funny. It all started with me meeting someone who I wasn't sure. Well, this sounds so incorrect. This podcast was born out of my own curiosity and my wanting to understand things. I assumed it was a young man, but it turns out someone who used to be a woman and was transitioning into becoming a man. And they referred to themselves as transgender. Now, we are more familiar with this term today, but just 2 years ago, maybe not so much, believe it or not. And I said, I would love to understand what that is. And I asked them if they would sit and explain it to me and record it in the form of an interview.
Wow.
I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And I sat and interviewed them, and that started the whole thing where I went from interviewing this transgender person to a polyamorous couple to an intersex individual. I had never known that there was such a thing as an intersex, what that is. And that intersex person, 7 Graham, used to be a woman who was Amy Winehouse's addiction counselor.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine how crazy? Like if you go on YouTube, you can find them talking to Amy Winehouse's father, trying to explain and convince him that she has a problem. And at the time, there were buxom and blonde. And if you meet 7 now, 7 is like, 7 is 7, I cover anything, basically anything that would make someone go, what the F is that, to be crude. is the idea behind what the fuckery is ... So in light of the year we had last year, because, and it's ongoing, but the turmoil between the political turmoil, the civil unrest, I was at a complete loss, and I couldn't figure out how to contribute to any conversations. I knew I couldn't go protest. It was just not in me. This was one of those where I'm like, I need my allies who are not me, who are not Black, who are not of color, or if you are, go for it. But I need you guys to step up for me because I don't have it in me. Every time a Black man gets brutally murdered, or a Sandra Bland or something like that happens, it's an interesting, it's hard to explain, but there's almost a genetic, visceral reaction where it feels like I have lost someone I knew personally, even though I've never met them or knew nothing about them. So it was a very depressing time between quarantining and living in LA, where we saw so much and I heard a lot of the protests and the shouts. I couldn't understand how to help. Then I talked to a wise, older, former guest who said to me, it's okay sometimes to sit things out. And you just need to be an observer. Sometimes that's your only job, is to be an observer.
Yeah.
And once I heeded to that, I got off my back about how I could do more. It came to me. And I started to do more interviews, having more conversations with various issues around race. It's not at all about race, the podcast, but it is about, recently I had a conversation about racial trauma. That's a thing. But my most exciting opportunity to learn came with the one on microaggression. What I did was I tapped into some Facebook groups and I asked if anyone has any stories where they've experienced microaggressions. Please send them to me and recorded in your own voice. Well, I got quite a few submissions. And what I did was I had a diversity and inclusion expert as my guest, and we listened to each clip that was submitted. And then the diversity and inclusion expert commented and explained whether that was microaggression or racism, why it was or wasn't. And it just made for a very interesting topic. It was it was really exciting. That's when people say to me, what's your favorite episode? That's one of my favorite episodes. And it depends on what you're looking for too, and the humor. You know, I have some pretty humorous topics in there too. And even things that delve into making relationships better. My latest one is on attachment styles. I didn't know there was such a thing, but how we attach to people helps us understand partners better and navigate through relationships. So, yeah, it's kind of like I'm becoming a bit of a what do you call that? Someone who knows. I call myself the queen of useless information now. No. This is extremely deep, heady stuff that everybody needs to investigate. And I'm blown away that you turned this into a podcast, but from a very authentic place. Like I genuinely want to understand this person that I met in my life. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to record this so I can like listen to it and maybe learn from it and have this record of it as well. And I've also even had a sex worker on, that was fascinating too. And then I had someone a woman, because we never think of women as being having a desire to do these things. She calls herself a unicorn because she likes to go to sex clubs and have encounters with strangers. And people like her are referred to as unicorn because, in fact, it's very rare that a single straight woman enjoys going to sex clubs. Yeah. You know, and as an interviewer and host, and that's why I like to use the word conversation, it's hard. You really have to be careful not to be judgmental.
Thanks for listening to the Hollywood Actor Podcast. If you like this content, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and share.